Okay, I'm going to start the class now. Can you all see my PPT, PowerPoint, conflict definition? Okay, good. Yeah, I don't want to be talking for like 1 hour and then you realize, Doctor, I cannot see the screen. Yeah. All right. So this one here, today we're going to be finishing up with the last bit of contract management, which we were supposed to do last week, but it was Raya and I had some pre-recorded lectures for Law of Tort. So Law of Tort, normally I'll leave it until the very end. But never mind, we did a swap. So today we're going to finish up with our contract management. We've actually covered almost everything, I think, that I can think of that is possibly in a contract, in any engineering contract, whether you're a mechanical engineer or whether you're a civil engineer, whether you're a chemical engineer, being in a contract in an engineering project, it doesn't run away from that sort of issues like time, payment, extension of time, LAD, suppliers, subcontractors, and also things like insurance, possession of site. Some is more relevant, some is more relevant to certain industries, not so obvious. The quality issue like testing, test report, QA/QC, standing supervision, suspension, termination, termination by performance, remedials. These are all very typical items in any contract. Actually, when the MQA officers came and they were saying that, like our contract management does not really cover everybody's industry. And that feels, then they told us that they felt like it actually defeats the purpose, you see, because it doesn't specifically cover all industries. And I really beg to differ. I had a huge argument with them. I said, because all engineering contracts will cover almost the same kind of issues. It's just that some, to certain degrees, we cannot possibly cover like a chemical engineering contract or a civil engineering contract in particular, or a mechanical engineering or electrical engineering contract in particular, because there's really so many niche area. Even if in civil alone, we will have like road work, we will have water works, and the contract itself doesn't differ that much, from works to works, you see. The issues that we need to cover is about the same, So I don't think that, even if we move to another country like China or Singapore or Hong Kong, it will be covering issues like time, like payment, like quality, and also other elements like termination, suspension, remedials, and all that. It will be there, it will be there in all contracts. It's just that maybe if it's a supply and delivery kind of contract, a supplier contract, the elements may not be so many things, but for any engineering contract, they would have to cover these sort of issues. And the last issues that it covers will always be which law of the country will be pertaining the contract, and then if you have a dispute, what do you do about it? And if it's an international contract, meaning that it's a Malaysian with, let's say, Philippines, or Malaysian with China, or Malaysian with Indonesia, it's an international kind of contract, then we would definitely go for dispute resolution. They will have dispute resolution clauses. If you two are in dispute, what do you guys do, after that? The formal dispute resolution method, and usually they will call for arbitration in a specific region that is actually that both agree upon and is not in anybody's home country in that sense, So normally, if we have an arbitration with China, for example, the nearest or the most common places we will go for dispute resolution or arbitration will be Singapore or Hong Kong. You see, so this will be the two areas that are considered as independent, you know, but China, I mean, of course, Hong Kong is not independent of China, but, you know, in terms of administration, it is a separate region. So it is closer to Malaysian law because they have been following British laws all this time. So there is kind of like a balance over there. Yeah. So if let's say you have an arbitration between the European Union, between the European countries, they may just go to UK, you know, that sort of things. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, so Asian region, normally we would choose a very common ground, and especially ground that we can speak almost the same kind of language. Like I would say Singapore is always a very good place to go to, and that's why they're really successful in bringing in international crowds, because they speak English, they speak Mandarin, you know, and that would actually covers a lot of other countries. I mean, a lot of different countries around the world, actually. Yeah. And so before we go, so today the last elements that we want to cover for our study here, these 7 weeks of contract management, is actually talking about the conflict and dispute. Okay, both conflict and dispute is about agreement. You know, it's about quarreling. It's about not happy with one another. So let's talk about this conflict first. Okay, conflict is always between two parties, you know, and there will be some form of differences in opinion, some form of incompatibility, and both parties will be looking at the same issue in a different way, in a way. So a conflict is really a disagreement between two parties, and you may say that what is the difference between a conflict and a dispute, you see, but conflict is generally disagreement, is a tension, is actually a lot milder. It's usually because there's a difference in opinion, there may be different aims, you know, that you may have different objectives over the same issues, both of you have different objectives. It's just like, for example, in a design perspective, let's say I'm a contractor, my perspective is your design cannot be built, you know, so then the goals is different. Mine is to build it, you know, and then the designer say that, oh, mine is make sure that it will be strong enough to stand up, you know, so structurally this is our calculation, so we have to do it like this, for example. So well, basically you are actually not to say fighting, you're actually disagreeing over certain issues, you know, because you are in a different position, you have a different maybe you have a different background. Maybe it could also be as simple as a personality thing, you know, like somebody is more open towards certain things, the other party is not so open towards trying out new things, you know. So you have this agreement over a particular issue, you see, and this disagreement is just that I don't agree with you, you know. So when I don't agree with you comes out, it can be very mild. It will always start off very mild, but then it will slowly escalate into something that is more in tension. You feel like the tension is more if both parties refuse to back down and they're not wanting to give in to certain to give in that way, and there's no other third party coming in to help resolve this tension, then it will escalate. So when it escalates into something even more serious, we call it a conflict, you see. So we will always start off with a disagreement, with an opinion, like you know, we all know, you know, we're working, you know, in the meeting, you know, you always say, I beg to differ, you know, it's like, I don't agree with you, you know, and normally we would be, in normal circumstances, we'll be very gentleman about it, we'll be more courteous about it in stating our opinion, but there will be circumstances when the argument gets too much, and I really strongly believe, in my opinion, I strongly believe that we shouldn't be submitting these things, you know, and then the other side said that we really should, I don't see a problem, you know, we should put it up in the front and let everybody see the design, you know, this sort of thing, and then you just cannot come to certain agreement at all, and that would be that would be a conflict already. So you've already escalated into a more serious form of disagreement. So if from a very general disagreement, you've escalated into a serious disagreement and into something that is more creating some tension between the two of you. And then you probably like, you don't want to talk to one another, you are getting a bit upset with one another, you know, and all that. So this, on the other hand, it will end up, it is actually a more serious disagreement. So when the disagreement goes into region that actually covers the conflict within contracts, within very technical sort of issues, you know, it's regarding defects, you know, it's regarding one party not able to do certain things that you want them to do, you know, and then there are some breach in the contract, like for example, payment, for example, delay in payment, for example, NCR non-compliance, you know, non-compliance report came out already, and then and yet, you know, things are not being properly done again. So then you're talking about your rights, you know, it's my rights, and the other say that it's my rights as well, you know. So those sort of things are considered as dispute. So it's like a conflict that goes into the region of very technical, very managerial, very specific issues that will have to refer to contractual standing between the two, the contractual position or contracting, the contract standings between the two parties. This is what we mean by dispute, okay? So you have to get that understand before we can talk about both. We're talking about both today. I hope I can cover about both, but I'm not sure, okay? Can I just ask you whether you guys cover conflict management in organizational behavior? In OB, do you cover conflict management?
Yes.
You do, huh? All right. Okay, so if you guys do cover about conflict management, on conflict management resolution, like compromising, like disagreement, I mean like compromising, confrontation and all that, you cover that, right? For people who are who did OB, Jessica?
I have yet to take that course this sem, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. Anyone else taking OB? If it's covered in OB, I'll be very quick about this. Is it? I mean, like, I don't want to sort of like repeat the same thing of what the OB people has already covered. So I'll make it really brief if this has already been covered in OB, okay? Nickman, you've done OB before? Organization behavior, last sem punya. Is it last sem or this sem?
This semester, Prof.
So you all cover OB this semester. So everyone here, if you pick the subject, you've already covered OB, isn't it? I mean, you've already covered conflict management.
Yeah, we did already.
Okay. All right. So I'll be quick about it then. Okay. So this maybe you can help me to supplement your notes. These are very specifically on engineering, on civil, on construction, you know, on site conflicts. But it's the same thing. I think like the way of managing is the same. Okay. Right. So we talk about conflict definition, whereby the intensity will go up, you know, it will go from the earlier stages, it will go from like maybe, you know, you try to maintain peace and then there will be an unstable peace kind of stage, you know, and then after that you will have a very open conflict, and then after that you will move into that crisis management whereby really there is a war going on, you know, and then we will have a point that you really need something to happen to manage the conflict before it can really smoothen down back to the later stage. And it will be a period of time before the conflict cycle will actually end. You see, so these are typical conflicts. So you talk about very, very small disagreement, and then it will escalate into, when the first two stage is whereby, you try to be more gentle, you try to be more courteous, you don't want to shout at one another, you just like state your opinion, you will use words like, oh, I beg to differ, or I'm, like maybe can I put in my opinion, like these are always the start of a conflict, a start of a disagreement. And there'll be a stage when somebody will say things like, well, I'm just talking, I'm just putting my opinion, if you feel like it's not necessary, then I will keep quiet, or I will just you can do it your way, So at that stage we are trying to do a prevention kind of conflict, we prevention styles to it, you see. And it's not escalate, we don't want it to escalate into a conflict. But when you started to get a bit heated up, you want to stand on firm on your own opinion, that is whereby the conflict will actually, this disagreement will actually emerge into a conflict, and you need to manage it before it escalates into a war. A war means that you really is like going to be throwing chairs and throwing papers and throwing tomatoes at one another, that kind of thing, So, I mean, obviously professionals, we don't do that, but unfortunately, supposedly we don't do that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes we get a bit upset, people start banging their tables. Have you gone through that? I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have gone through site meetings and people will bang on the tables and say that, say things like, oh, you shut up, something like that. I hope not. Yeah, we're all civilized people. Malaysians are generally very gentle people. We don't really go into that. We are always trying to make it into the prevention, like try to not force our way through, Unfortunately, there are some people who just really make your antenna all goes up, and you really want to all out fight the war kind of people in front of you. There are some people like that. Like some people just tick you off so badly, that you just want to fight. You see, so yeah, so this is what we call a cycle. Then after that, we will manage the conflict. We need to manage the conflict. Something needs to come in and manage the conflict. If not, that it will really escalate into something really big, and that could actually means a dispute at the end of the day, which why you need to have a third party, a neutral third party. It's not even people, your bosses or your client or whoever that can comes in to actually make peace with one another. You can't do that. So I mean, it will go up to that kind of level sometimes, you see, and especially it started to involve some form of contractual issue, some form of contractual rights, and people start to get very upset. You are crowding into my rights, you are actually taking away my rights in the contract. For example, you're not paying me, the payment is not there, and you're complaining about the defects, asking me to repair the defects, but you're not even paying me for the work that I've done, that sort of thing. That would be escalation into war level, dispute level. Okay, and yeah, so I want you guys to really note this, because I don't want you guys to be, to make the small things becomes big, you see. So as much as possible, we want to zeroize our conflict. And in fact, as a project manager in any work field, whether you are in a factory environment, whether you are in the manufacturing or project environment, it's your job. Actually, the first buffer is the project manager. The first buffer is the project team, in order to actually buffer all this conflict, to go from to temper it down, to dilute it, to make it to a point that it's not going to go into a very, very big war zone sort of things, you see. So that peacemaker has to come from the engineer themselves, actually. In fact, you will see that in a lot of contracts, we would say that dispute this, the first person, the first layer is to be referring to the SO. The SO themselves, or the engineer themselves, or the architect themselves should be the first gate or the first goalkeeper before the dispute got escalate. Or before the conflict got escalate into a dispute. So you need to manage all these issues on site. You need to manage your contractual issues. You need to manage people issues. You need to manage technical issues so that it doesn't escalate, the conflict doesn't escalate into a dispute kind of region. So it's always the first one. If you read any contract, you will see a clause that goes something like, refer all conflicts or all disputes to the SO to be resolved as early as possible, or to be resolved first before you move into alternative dispute resolution technique, which is involving external people like arbitrators, mediators, conciliators, adjudicators, even a judge, if you go to court with your dispute, you see. So yeah, so this is the difference. I mean, this is the first layer. So I want to talk about this is because I need you to understand that this is your duty as an engineer. So like, for example, you're working as a client's engineer, especially the client's engineer, and there is a dispute between the designers and the contractors. You are the first person that is supposed to be there to neutralize or zeroize this dispute and not to make things worse. Like, don't put oil on fire, and when there's fire already, jangan go and fan it again, like make it bigger, like it's a half-meter fire, then you want to fan it, and blow on it, and then make it into a 2-meter, high kind of fire, you see. Like you tengok what, it's not like you're watching drama or tengok wayang, like eating popcorn, tengok people quarreling or fighting with one another, you see. So yeah. So we always take dispute into that kind of level, like makan popcorn, like you're sitting there, like, whoa, fight, there's people quarreling, then you go like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? It becomes like a gossip. It's like, somebody today, is, this guy and this guy, they're talking, they're shouting, they're banging on the table. They, instead of talking about the real problem, some people come out of a meeting and they talk about the character of certain people. They talk about the certain people are not gentlemen. They talk about bad characters. They talk about gossips. And what does it do? It doesn't solve any problems. You see. So I think as professionals, really, we need to look at the issues, not the people, Yeah. And there is constructive conflict. Actually, dispute is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing, as in it's okay to have differences in opinion. Do you agree with me or not? You see, like if you don't have differences in opinion, what has that made our school? How has that made the universities? How has that made the education system? You mean that we have been coming out with AIs and robots and everything, and people just think the same way? Come on, it's not possible. We are all from different culture. We're all from different backgrounds. We are all from different families. We're all from different races. Our habits and our thinking, and there are many things that is actually affecting decision making, opinions, and your experience in life as well is different. Your experience in different projects are different. You face up with certain clients before. Some people hasn't been through that before, so they don't understand, the decision that you make or the opinion that you have, you see. So it is not normal. I mean, it is not normal if you don't have disagreement on any project site, especially when a project site, it involves so many people. It involves, professional people. It involves the clients, engineers. It involves your team. It involves team between team members. There are also different people. Like, put it in a way that if you're not a dumb kind of person, you will have your own opinion, correct or not? So takkanlah, like everybody have the same opinion. So disagreement is very normal. It's very healthy. It's very healthy to push the issue forward. It's very healthy if somebody disagrees because they brought up something that you have not seen or you have not think of before. And then you go like, oh, right, that is something that I haven't thought of before. Thanks for bringing it up. Like it will help. It will help to focus the projects onto a better level in that sense. So those are constructive kind of disagreement. and constructive disagreement is usually not personal. It's usually about the issue. It's about specific issues. It's about the goals. We all want the project to do well. We all want to meet the time goal. We all want to earn money and move on. You see, so the goals is the same, the objectives is the same. It's just that the approach is a little bit different. Those are constructive kind of conflict. Okay, so it's not about your personal likes or dislike. It's not about somebody being really negative about every single thing on site or in the project. It's not about that, so those are destructive kind of conflict. Constructive conflict is you both want to do something good. You both want to benefit the project. You both want to benefit the issues. You want to solve the issues. But just the way, the approach that you are coming in, the way that you think is different, the way that the jalan that you ma ambil is different. So it's just like all of us wants to come to Unimas on time for the physical classes, but the route that you take is very different. So it's either you respect each other's route and keep your mouth shut and zip, and if that person late, you don't go like la 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 la, I told you, like we don't do that, you see. So same goes, there's different ways of doing things. Sometimes we can actually let other people do their own ways. Yeah, and then yes, you said, well, if I suffer too, well, unfortunately, some people need to see it, like you explain also they cannot see it, so you might as well let them do it, But unless that particular issue will really bring very serious issues, and you can really see the serious issues, such as losing money, losing time, having a new group of non-compliances, or some quality issues, there will be some defects later on that is very difficult to recover. All those sort of things, if let's say if you really can see that, then you should stand firm, and that's whereby we need to manage this, because both are standing firm, you see. So yeah, sometimes we do a preventive measure. Sometimes we actually we try to prevent it by being gentle, by being nice, by being polite, but by giving by letting other people have their ways. That is always the first way of handling it. Then we move into a more confrontational or a more hands-on kind of manner with that. But if it's a constructive dispute, conflict, we could generally go for a more confrontational kind of method. Yeah, definitely. Like straight on, let's address the issues. Let's get it set. Let's get it settled, you see. And those are constructive kind of for constructive kind of. So for constructive resolution, you will definitely have to have the basic trust in one another. Okay. You don't want to involve third party first, but you know that both of you are working towards the better. Then it's like husband and wife, for example. You have a conflict, but you know it's for the good of the family. So that one, you must have that trust. If you don't have that trust, then you cannot do conflict resolution completely. No, because trust is the fundamentals for fundamental conflict resolution for constructive kind of conflict. You must establish that two person or that two group of people, essentially they still trust one another. They still think that the other party is a good guy. That is important. Yeah. If you go into the region of you're suspecting that he's up to something no good, or you think that this guy is really evil, or these people are really bad, you cannot trust them, then these are not the type of conflict resolution method that you can go for already. Yeah, you really have to think about intervention here. All right, like constructive, the basic fundamentals is trust is today, and then you can look at it from a very constructive, very problem-solving approach to the problem, brings everybody focus back to the problem and don't let it escalate into a personal level. At first you're talking about that thing on the table about the problem, and suddenly, somebody say things like, yeah, you're always like that one now. How come you're always like that? How come you cannot think like this? then you are actually escalating it into a very personal level. Like, what do you mean by I always think like that? What do you mean by you're always like that? So that one is very personal already. So we still have to maintain it at a very professional level. And then we will talk about problem solving, try to solve the problems, and then substantiate the bring in different people's knowledge, listen to different people's opinion. These are ways to resolve a very constructive dispute, because essentially you both are still going towards the same goals. For destructive kind of dispute, okay, it is more onto a very personal level most of the time. Like, you are trying to get even, you try to retaliate, you're gonna hurt the person. These are already very emotional kind of situation already. And no matter what, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the problem is solved. I just don't like you, I just don't like the way you say it, I don't agree with you as a person even, so that sort of situation, you are in a very destructive kind of conflict. This sort of conflict, you cannot really solve it in a very mild manner. It's like, these two people are not here to solve problems, they're here to win one another. Have you ever faced situation like that before? Yeah. Like, you can see that they're not talking about the issue anymore. It's all about, who is going to emerge winning, who is going to make the other person feel worse, you see. And I think that happens on many projects as well, whereby some clients or some engineers, they just don't like the contractors, they just don't trust the contractor's representative, they just don't want to see their perspective, they feel like every word that come out of your mouth is just rubbish, and no matter what you say, if you put all your past, you can put 10 PhD on a table and then, 20 years of experience in the same project, and they will still think that you are bullshitting, you see. So that kind of conflict is what we call a destructive conflict, because they are not solving the issue. They're not there to look at the issues. They are there to tear down the other person or tear down the other party, or make you more frustrated than where they are at the moment. They will make you feel worse than who can make each other feel worse, Itulah macam budak quarrel macam itulah, supposed to be we cannot do that, Yeah, so so this is the thing on constructive dispute. I want to remember that as long as it's not moving towards the same goals, you are there to going into a different personal level. These are kind of dispute that is called destructive dispute. So yeah, there are many sources of dispute. Maybe I can quickly cover this with you. You can come at different stages of the project, between designers with designers, between contractors with designers, especially SO with SO with contractors. A lot of time dispute comes in that way. Conflict comes in that way, and many issues between client and also the contractors. Among the contractors representative with the designers representative or the SO representative, these sort of people are quite generally prompt to be in conflict, because you're there to see each other every day. So it can be talking about the work scope, it can talk about the resources assignment. Even in the same organization, I want to use that machine, and then can you let me use it for 5 days first, and then you take it, and then say, no, my job is also urgent, and then you don't want to back down. So again, these are, resources assignments kind of thing, and then where you're going to put your inventory, and the other party on site say that, no, you should build a warehouse so that we don't get wet, the material don't get wet, or whatever stupid reasons, then you go into that disagreement. And of course, you also disagree on the schedule. The consultant will say things like, hey, can you be faster? Your work is so slow. Can you bring in more team? And from the contractor's perspective, this is my management, this is my money, I just want to do it my way, and I don't want you to listen to you. And so on task, on schedule, on priorities, these are all very difficult issues that can come out on let's say I don't like, as a designer, you're not fulfilling the things, the limits, the fundamental, the lower limits or upper limits of testing, and I want you to do it again, and you feel like, oh, it's so close already, why do I have to do it again, so I'm like, come on, use your common sense, so these are the kind of issues that will cause conflicts, you see, so very, very minor sometimes, it's just requiring like people to talk and communicate in order to resolve it, but unfortunately, it's not the case, and yeah, and organization issues, of course, among between your colleagues, your bosses, and all that, and of course, personal differences. Like I said, personal differences will encompass like culture, races, female, male, like as simple as that as well. Because I probably see a lot of in my career, I've seen a lot of conflict that comes from just because of your female or male kind of thing. It's like some ladies, when they are on site, they are very, very specific. I'm a lady, so I can talk about this, So don't throw tomatoes at me, I've seen some ladies engineers, they're very particular about certain issues. They like to go into these very nitty-gritty, small things, like that lobang, that lobang, can you figure it out? I feel tahan looking at it, sort of things. And then the guy engineers will be like, yo, come on lah, it's like we've got better things to do. Wait lah, this one can wait for another few more days lah. And that sort of like goes into, I mean, I've got ladies engineers whom I look at her, I also cannot tahan, and kind of like, this steel bars, that come, macam kotor lah, steel bar kotor sudah, the pipe macam kotor lah. Hello, how can the pipe not be kotor? How can the pipe not be dirty? It's like it's been traveling like on boat, on boat, on ship, on lorry, going through rain, shine, coming to your site. You want it to be sparkling clean? Is that possible? Yeah, I mean, like we talk about sometimes ladies, sometimes we get very particular about that. But men sometimes they are also very we can see they look at big pictures, but sometimes they're not as careful as ladies engineers. So it's a good balance actually to have both on the job, you see. Some can look at the details, some can notice the small things, some can look at the big things, and I think that is a good balance, That's why God create females and males, If not, then the whole world will be full of male, whole world full of female, finish already. Yeah, no need to talk anymore. Yeah, so it's equally good, it's equally good. It's just that personal characters, male, females, the way that we look at things, the attention that we put on certain issues may be very different. And then maybe some ladies and gentlemen, they just need you to amend the schedule, amend it now. It's I'm just not happy if you don't amend the schedule. Then the guy will go like, the dog on the side, like going, it's just paperwork. What's the like what's the thing, So yeah, I mean, like these are kind of sources of small things that may escalate into other things later on. I mean, like you start to think that person is careless, that person doesn't care about the project, and then you start to look into small things that they are doing, and then you pick up problems, and it will get more and more serious. So very common. It's very common. Nothing you can do to prevent that. You just have to personally, you have to check yourself, ask yourself, is this a really, really big thing? Would it bring you very, very bad consequences? Answer those questions, and the rest are just small issues. Okay. Yeah. So so there are at post construction also, there are also conflict that hasn't been resolved. So during design stage, during construction stage, post construction stage, or post delivery stage, or post material delivery, we all have conflicts. So in manufacturing is the same. You deliver a bunch of 99% wonderful good materials, and there's one or two that is rosak, or a few that is rosak, and then people go like, how come your things are so lousy one? And then you go into that mode of like, that's so lousy, it's just really good, and then quality is always a very, very good platform. It's a very good platform for people to go into conflict. Very good platform. It's the best platform. Because why? It's very subjective. That's like I've mentioned in project management previously, quality is never absolute. It's always relative. And when it's relative to human beings, it's always very difficult to have the right answer to it, you see. So this way conflict will come in, differences in opinion will come. So different projects, I think the big things is always that it must not affect performance, it must not affect the final cost, it must not affect the schedule, and then it must be not wasting time, it must not escalate into something bigger. These are the few principles that you must hold on to when you are looking into conflict and resolving conflict. So I think I will just sort of like move on to the summary in that way. There are a few ways of first of all, just prevent them is always the best, But then if really conflict do happen already, and then you want to go into the resolution mode as a third party or between the two person or two parties, or as an external, as a same person, but then within the same two parties, you have somebody who wants to resolve the conflict. These are some ways, I would say that forcing and confrontational, these are always more stronger. Okay, so I split up into 3 layers in that sense. If you talk about confronting and forcing, these sort of styles are always like heads on, get it over and done with. Confrontational is like making people work towards the same issue. It's like, now sit down, the two of you, like let's sit down and talk about this. This is confrontational. And do you realize that Malaysians are not very confrontational? I can see that Malaysians are not very confrontational. I mean, this is cultural, I think. We don't want to sit down and confront the issues. And so this one will need somebody sometimes to come in and say, okay, let's sit down and talk about it. And then you may really need a third party to come and do the confrontation. So if we talk about two parties here, sitting down here, talking about the issues and problems, and one person opened their mouth and said, let's have a meeting about this, I think the chances are very low. The daggers may be flying already, the parang might be flying everywhere already, but then you don't look at it and you don't want to confront it. And these are quite cultural, I think. It's a very cultural thing. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure Japanese are also not very confrontational. They will sort of like avoid the issue. They hardly wants to go into that confrontational kind of mode. But when they start to go to confrontational mode, I think they are quite ruthless in that sense, in a way, I think these people are like the people who are like, if they don't have 100% of killing you, they wouldn't confront you, you see. So otherwise they will do the small under table behind the scene kind of thing. I think Asians generally, we don't pick up the confrontational mode unless we are forced to in that way. So forcing is definitely involves a third party, it's just that everybody shut up and listen to me, kind of thing, and then after that, this one person with the authority, it could be the ESCO, it could be the client side, and just say that, okay, now you don't want to cooperate, you've got this issue, I need to get on with it, we all need to get on with our life. You listen to me and let's do it this way, and both of you shut up, and then we follow this method and full stop. So no such thing as you feel good or whatever. Both of you feel shit about each other, it doesn't matter. I want the project to go. So these are forcing kind of method. Yeah. And you need to do that sometimes, because otherwise I ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong dong, until tomorrow comes, the sun rises again and it's not resolved, you see. So confrontational and forcing, these are more upfront, these are more heads-on, these are more hard style. And then, of course, normally going into the softer way would be the collaborating kind of style. Okay, so collaborating styles is about we try to find you must find a way to cooperate, find a way to work with one another. Even though you really have an issue, you try to make it work by going to a point that both of you are kind of like not really liking it a lot, the solution, but we still can, we still can take it and just collaborate it. Just think of the parties as partners. After this is over, we're not going to see each other again. For now, I will just swallow and I will just bear with it, and we will find a way to work with it. So these are collaborating kind of style. So again, if you see with this picture here, it's actually on more efficient, more assertive kind of way. It's not about giving a lot of choice to certain party. It's just that compared to forcing, collaborating, it makes you have more. It makes the conflicting party has a little bit more control over the situation in that sense. A little bit more, because they want you to find a way that you are comfortable. Forcing is like, you comfortable or not comfortable, it doesn't matter. The problem, the thing is going to solve the issue. This collaborating is okay. We still look after each other's, two parties' feelings, and hopefully this one here, you may not like it completely, but then let's get on with it. So these are kind of like, or the best is win-win, huh? Yeah, and compromising usually will be requiring both sides to give up on something. That one is somebody has to both sides has to give up something. There's no, to me, this is more win-win. I would say win-win lah. It's like half win now. Like half loss, half win now. It's 50-50 lah. Put it this way, huh? Like I would have to give up on something. I would have to bear with something that I really dislike, but I have no choice. I have to move on and I have to compromise that way. So compromising is a style that you find a middle ground, but then that middle ground is not exactly perfect for both party. Both party will have some negativity to it. They will just have to bear with that. That is compromising. They have to give up. The word compromise means that they have to give up something in order to gain something. Yeah. So you have to be, if A is very important to me, so I will give up B. The other side, B is important to me, so I take B, but I give up A. So those are compromising. So compared to collaborating, the collaborating is more on the both sides have to actively work on it to find a solution that, yes, we are not completely comfortable, but we can take it. We think of it as just working together, and then after this, I'll never see you again anyway, so it's okay. Then we will move on to the more gentle, softer way of not really involving too many external party. I mean, like a third party will be smoothing and avoiding. Let's say you're an SQA engineer, and one guy came to you, and then you guys know that the contractor is not happy with the SO representative or whatever reason. So avoiding essentially means that you don't want to, like, you don't want to even address the issue completely. Let's not even talk about it. This is so minor sometimes, and it's so nitty-gritty sometimes. You want to avoid it completely, so you make yourself disappear, and nobody can find you. Then you don't want to pick up phone calls, you don't want to go for meetings, you don't want to talk about it, and just pretend like never happens, kind of way. And then until the other party gets so sick and tired of looking for you, until they're okay lah, never mind lah. So it does solve some problems sometimes, because when you do confrontation, it's becoming a situation that there's a solution. Especially when there's no solution to anything, avoiding may be the easiest way out in the way. Smoothing is like you will go like, ayo, jangan lah, don't do that. It's not like that. It's like, let's be like, you will try to make it you will try to make everybody feel better first, and before you go into talking about the underlying issues, So it will downplay the conflict, it will emphasize on the good things, oh, come on, you guys have been working together for so long already. I'm pretty sure you'll be fine, just no big issue. Come on, like you're smoothing, you see. Avoiding, like I say, is like you just disappear, you don't want to look at it, you don't want to think about it, you don't want to address it at all. So those are avoiding. So smoothing and avoiding are the gentle way. It helps sometimes, it doesn't help. It really depends on situation, okay? I hope OB covers this with you. So there are a lot of notes here. There's talking about forcing situation, when you feel situation that you need to force, especially when it's a do or die emergency situation, then you should force it. Or if you are in a position that you are stronger, then you will win. You know you will win, then you go in. Like I said, a client can come in and say, okay, both of you shut up and do it my way. Because you have that position, you see. So yeah, a quick decision is needed, and it has to be resolved immediately. Whether the other two sides are happy or not is none of your business. You don't care. These are forcing kind of matters. Okay. The example also, confronting is like I said, you address the issue. So what kind of situation is good for confronting? So yeah, confronting is whereby you know that both parties are still wanting to get good results. Like they are there, to not really want to be enemies, So I mean, that both have good things to complement one another. So you just want to confront and bring up the issue so that they can talk about the issue. But the most important thing is the mutual trust is still there. Like I said, in a situation of very constructive kind of dispute, this confrontational is actually quite good for that sort of issues. Okay. They got compromising. This is about bargaining, like somebody has to give up on something, And yeah, compromising is whereby you are in a deadlock, there's not enough time already, and then uh, you want to make sure that you get what you need to get, and then or you see that the other side is actually maybe they have something that you need, and then that you can give on certain things. These are the type of situation that you can use compromising. So avoiding. So we have got smoothing, smoothing. It's just like when you cannot fight people, then you better do the smoothing and avoiding styles, Repeat confronting. Okay. Oh, sorry, I deleted some things. Never mind. Okay, so yeah. Mm. Okay. Okay, so I think this is it. Okay. Yeah, so we've got different situations on that. Okay, avoiding. Yeah, and we've got a summary about different styles and the effectiveness of it. Yeah. So I think, like I said, it's been part of OB as well, because you're dealing with organization. So this is more on the conflict management for the on-site kind of situation. All right. So I think we basically cover conflict management. Any questions that you want to ask? No? Okay. Is everybody still alive? It's raining on my side. Is it raining on your side? Yeah, it's raining really heavily on my side. I hope that it doesn't get everybody into a very sleepy kind of mode, huh? Raining and still alive. Thanks, Brenda. Right, so I'll off these slides and I'll bring you to the next one, which is on dispute. You guys want to take a short break? Let's take a 5 minutes break before we move on to dispute resolution, okay? After dispute resolution, this is on formal dispute resolution methods. After dispute resolution, we will talk about your assignments. If you need me to talk about assignment, I know Jessica is waiting for me to give her some feedback. Then
Yeah, Doctor, I thought I sent to the wrong email. I'll keep on waiting.
yeah, because I've been really busy for the past few days, you see, so I've been owing people a lot of things. Yeah, but I read through already. Actually, I'll give you my opinion now. While the rest go for a short break, maybe 5 minutes. You be back at 2:10. Jessica, your word is okay. It's all okay. It's just that when you come to the strategies bit, right? Can you summarize, or in the end, you must have a summary or some form of small conclusion for that particular section. I don't see
For
that.
each of the case study.
Yes, yes, yes. You need to have a summary. Yeah.
Okay, I think I lump it all in the conclusion part. I mean in the recommendation part because yeah. But okay,
Yeah.
I will add on if like that.
Yeah, click on that, and then especially trying to mention what we see from the contract that is not done in the real life. I think that bit is very important. Can it be better? Like you have to summarize in that way. Okay.
So the summary for each of the case study is just that how the real situation as compared to the contract one. Because
Yes, like,
I think in my case study, some do like follow the contract, but then some did not lah.
if you follow the contract, you say that in this particular case, the contracting parties was following the contract clauses and the recommended contract contract strategies very closely, and the result of this was what? Like, was it amicably like well done, or the situation was actually good in the end, kind of thing. And then, or if let's say in certain situation they miss out on certain procedures, and then what was the loophole, what was the problem, and what was the further issues later on. You can talk about that in a summary.
Alright.
Otherwise, it's just like,
I think for case study one, I did mention, but then as for 2 and 3 and 4, I know it's like okay lah, just for the sake of finishing it.
Yeah, you need to speak it up. Otherwise, it's like got head no tail.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
And then until at the end of it, everybody is saying try to have a conclusion, a proper conclusion of all the four issues. Maybe it's just overall generally, how does your organization deal with contractual issues, and are they aware, or what is the awareness level like, and how is the engineers performing, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Just one paragraph for each of the case study, just to lump it up. Is it?
Summary. But then you must have also an overall conclusion at the end of the assignment.
For all the 4 case study?
No, case studies is summary. You must have a case study summary. You also must
for the whole project, is it?
Yes.
I think I got or did not. Or just to improve the conclusion.
But then you should have that as well. Yeah. Don't because you have a conclusion, then you don't do it for the summary for each case. Yeah. Conclusion is only one, which is at the end of the assignment.
Oh,
Summary
yeah.
study. Okay, every case studies you must have a summary.
Summary at the end of the strategy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Doctor, I haven't scanned the attendance, doctor.
Okay.
Doctor, it said that the code is no longer valid, lah.
Okay. Maybe I need to renew. You hold on. You give me your student number. Rika, you give me a student number. Hello.
Kejap. 22030 220. 220. Yeah.
I'm also taking the attendance for last week also.
Okay.
I also checking you for last week.
22030 220.
Okay, all in, no problem.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. All right, let's get going. All right, so as we move into dispute resolution, now that like let's say you cannot solve conflicts, conflict has escalated, and then it's gone into very contractual kind of issues, what do we do next? You see, this is gonna be basing it in the contract. Some contract will call for mediation, some contract will call for adjudication, some contract will go for arbitration. None actually tells you to go for litigation, okay? But of course, litigation is available for anybody because it's based on the Court of Malaysia. Okay, it's like it's all the citizens' right to go for litigation, to fight your case in front of the law, you see. But I'll explain later why litigation is not very good. It's not the best way of resolving. It's not like suing somebody is a fun thing to do, you see. So normally we call it, besides litigation, we will call the rest alternative dispute resolution method. Most contract, okay, they will have a clauses on dispute resolution. It has to be. There's no way, unless you have a very supply contract that you literally don't have much information in there. But even so, some supply contract would definitely have dispute resolution clauses in there. Why? Because it's common. It's common to have conflicts, and it's common that certain things go out of hand. It's common that you will need an external third party. When we talk about mediation, when we talk about conflict resolution on those confronting, accommodating, all these sort of methods, you have to remember the third party that we are referring to are still within the same contract. Jangan salah faham. The people who are still in the same contract are helping to resolve the conflict. When we talk about dispute resolution, anybody third party here, we're talking about an external party who has nothing to do with your project. Okay, this is the big difference between conflict management and dispute resolution. With conflict management, it's still the SO, it's still the clients, engineers, it's still people within the same project resolving dispute. And in all clauses, in all contract, they will say that refer to your SO, refer to your engineer or your architect to do, or to refer to the contract manager or refer to the project manager to resolve the dispute, to resolve the conflict first. Okay, so any issues that involves conflict will be first baffled. It will be written there that it must be solved ASAP, as soon as possible. It must be resolved together with the SO, with the contract manager, with the supervisor, or with the engineer or the architect. So it's within that, so they become the first layer. But your questions may be to me like, oh, doctor, what if the SO is the one giving problem? Yes, that's why, and in that case, we would need to have somebody else within the contract. For example, the client's engineer or the clients themselves sending people in to actually resolve the dispute. Otherwise, the whole project doesn't jalan, you see. So that's why you have some meetings whereby the client had to be the one standing up. I remember you guys are asking me many questions, people like Jessica, and all this, like you guys are asking me, you guys are the client's engineer. What if this happened to the contractor? What if this happened to the designer? This is the time that the designer themselves are the one that is causing the problem, or the consultant are the one that is causing the problem. So they are in no way good position to resolve the conflict. This is a time that you all as a client engineers will step in, but you still belong to the same project. You still hasn't escalate this to a dispute level requiring a third party from outside to come in and give assistance. Not yet. Okay, and every contract will tell you to do that first within your own group, your project team. You've got to work on it first. Otherwise, the next step is you have to go for dispute resolution. And when you go for dispute resolution, the first effect is suspension of work. All work will be suspended until the dispute is being resolved. Normally. So it's a very, very hurting, it's a very, very headache. It's really a difficult thing to move into if you talk about dispute. Okay. So then the clauses won't, those clauses won't, if you don't believe me, you can flick through PAM contract, you can flick through any of the contract. If they do have dispute resolution clauses, first they will say that you all must resolve it among yourselves first. Refer to the SO or the SO representative or the clients, to actually help to resolve the dispute or resolve the issues as amicably as possible, or to resolve it nicely, as soon as possible. So this will be the clauses that you see. And then after that, they will move on to, should that dispute escalate into something that is not within the limit of the party to actually handle the dispute, then you will need a third party to come in, and that third party can come in from a different perspective or a different mode. One of them is called mediation. So the gentlest one is mediation. Okay, so mediation, the other terms that are very close to mediation is conciliation. Mediation is very, very gentle. In fact, some places in the world, they call mediation something more, they call it more, actually, let me explain it later. Okay, let's talk about mediation first. So mediation is like a third party coming in to engage the two parties that is in dispute. This is a complete outsider. They are trained in mediation, and in many countries, I think China especially, they will go for mediation first before they go to court. They will prevent people from going to court. So I think mediation is a technique that a lot of the professionals are actually trained in to do that. So not only for construction cases, for many other dispute, other type of dispute like family dispute, commercial dispute, consumer disputes, they will go for mediation first, which means some third party coming in and they will get the two parties to talk to one another. They will actually this guy called mediator will actually be very gentle, they bring up the points of both sides, and then they see what is going on, and then they will sort of advise accordingly, but they would not actually force their opinion on you, and their final decision, you may not need to take it. Okay, so that is mediation. Okay, here in KNM and CIDB form, they call for mediation. So you have no choice. When the contract calls you to go for mediation, even if you have a dispute, you cannot go for any other thing besides mediation. Another option, if it gets so bad that you go for litigation, then that is a whole different story. Okay, but contractually, if it's stated that mediation is a dispute resolution method, you have to go for dispute resolution. Mediation as a dispute resolution method. So for PAM is optional. So I think PAM also call for adjudication. CIDB is mandatory, meaning that no matter what situation, if you have a dispute, go for mediation. There's no compromise there. So that is for PAM contract. Okay. So is mandatory mediation enforceable against the party who do not wish to go along? There's no statutory regimen to regulate it, but because it's a contract that you sign already, okay, so a refusal to do it, it will be a breach of the contract, okay? So you have to be careful. If it's already mandatory within the contract itself, you have to follow it. Otherwise, you are actually not abiding by the contract. So that is the whole issue. So there is a section 5.3. I have a process here on mediation. Okay, the whole process on mediation. So you can have somebody who are a trained mediator. You have to select, and so it's like the two disputing parties, they are brought together to further discuss, negotiate, and then they will talk to one another. You record as a mediator, you will record down their opinions, their standing, and then you will actually provide sort of like a different range of settlement options. You can try to convince them to agree on the best solution. You can persuade, one another to help. It's like more of a compromising, more of a confrontation, definitely confrontation, and then compromising and collaborating kind of middle ground for this sort of method, mediation. And then the important thing is to choose somebody who is not related to any of the party. There can be lawyers or non-lawyers. It can be anybody actually who are trained in terms of mediation. Normally, mediator, you need to go for a course because this is a kind of art, that you cannot jump tangan, you cannot push your nose into the case so badly that everybody has to listen to you. You're not a judge, you're not an arbitrator. Okay, you're there to be a third party to help the two sides to see the picture. So that kind of gentleness must be there, that kind of training, that kind of interpersonal skills, that kind of people skills to make everybody comfortable with you, get everybody to talk to you, and then you try to bring the opinion of this one party to the other party, and then trying to get them to collaborate and improve on the situation or compromise. This is a skill. This is a very, 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 very special skills that you have, and not everybody have it, you see. So you need to go for training, okay? So you need to be able to pick up points, pick up tones, pick up people's emotion, pick up people like or dislike, what makes them thick, what makes them very upset, and all that. So first you select a mediator, and then you go through that processes of, obviously you need to pay this mediator, how much time they spend with you, and how long they spend with you, So the general rules is this mediator must be agreed upon by the two parties. Then you conduct it, at a time or the venue that is stated in the meeting format. You identify the parties, and then let's say in the end, after the mediation, you need people who are decision maker, for example, the bosses of the company, to be there for them to make that decision to do what next, to resolve the issues. Then you need to also compensate the mediator, and then there will be formality that he can draft it for you, and then both of you sign it that said, okay, now this is a solution, we both agree to this solution, and then they can sign it mediator can prepare that, so it's about getting each other to talk. It's like a discussion sessions, more on discussion, very informal, very discussion sessions with one another. Okay, and then the next level up is conciliation. Okay, conciliation and arbitration sounds the same, but actually they are very different. They're a bit different. Okay, conciliation also has a similar process, and that third party is called a conciliator. They will take a more active role. You can propose solutions, you can make recommendations. For mediator, you're just trying to bring the points to one another, try to get them to communicate, try to very gently let them see the point kind of thing. But conciliator, you can be a bit more pushy. You can say that, like, why not we do it like this? Do you think it will work if we do it like this? But again, it is in a very gentle, very a kind way of doing things. It's not like forcing at all. It's a confrontation, but it is not a forcing kind of method. Okay, so conciliation is a little bit more formal. Conciliator is expected to actively propose solutions and make recommendations. You keep on coming up with why not we do it like this? Do you think you can accept this? So that is conciliation. But conciliator punya outcome, it is binding in a way. The party must agree to make it so. Okay, it is binding. But then for mediation, the outcome is not binding. Not binding means that unless they all agree to come to a solution and sign a piece of paper, whatever that comes out from a mediation, both parties can still go on the same way. They don't have to follow. Okay, so mediation is gentle, is small, is smooth, is actually kinder in a way, and mediator is less pushy, more getting parties to talk, and their decisions are not binding. No, they won't have any decision. What I mean is the decision that comes out from whatever agreement that comes out from the party, unless they sign it, it can be not binding. But in conciliation, if the parties agree already, it is binding. So in fact, when you choose to go for conciliation, it has to be whatever that the outcome that comes out from the conciliator, you've already agreed that you will follow it in that sense. Okay. So some places around the world have it the other way around. Some people call a conciliation the gentle way. Some people call it mediation a stronger way. So this paper that I have here is more on the two type of, there's some resolution method actually sounds the same, but it sounds a lot the same, but actually they are not. You see, so conciliation and mediation is one of them. They are both alternative dispute resolution method, but they are actually a little bit different. They may sound the same, and especially in some parts of the world, they use it differently. Like America and also United States-based kind of country, in terms of mediation and conciliation, they will get it the other way around. Mediation, what I'm talking about here is more generally used in the UK-based kind of country. But in US, it will be probably the other way around, meaning that conciliation can be stronger, mediation can be a lot more stricter in that, a lot more stricter in that sense. And conciliation is a bit more gentle. It's the balik, so it's a terms usage. It's a terms usage. It's not so much of who is right or who is wrong, or any books that are wrong, or any information that is wrong. It's depending on the sources of the country talking about mediation or conciliation. So like I said, PAM form calls for mediation. PIDB form calls for a mandatory conciliation. Mandatory mediation. So I hope you guys understand this process. Once you've gone through that, that means the dispute, the issues that you have is actually so serious that you need a third party. And normally it's about these two parties that is already in dispute. They are hardly talking to one another. They are not really wanting to work on it. It's not a conflict level anymore. It's already escalated into a dispute level. And out of the whole dispute resolution technique, the most gentle among them all is mediation and conciliation. Then we have another a little bit more serious and a little bit more tougher is adjudication process. Okay, adjudication process is something very, very, very new in the industry. Adjudication process is actually not in UK. It's actually mandatory for construction project. Nickman, yes.
Your battery, doctor.
Oh, my battery. Okay, right. Thank you for reminding me. Otherwise, I'll shut down suddenly again, and you see me disappearing. Charging. I don't know. My daughter and my husband has this habit of pulling my battery out of my computer for some reason. They think that it's very unhealthy for me to keep the battery on, like plugging all the time. I don't see a problem, but they seem to have this like funny thing about, things being charging all the time. Not sure whether you have that kind of issues. So always they will unplug my computer, and I wouldn't realize that it's being unplugged, and then so suddenly everything will shut down on me, and it's all over. Oh well. Okay, thanks for that. Yeah. All right. So in UK now, it's already been quite it's actually being forced as a mandatory kind of method. Okay, so adjudication is like a procedures. You refer to a third party called an adjudicator. That person will be appointed for certain issues over certain time. There will be a time limit. And this person usually is a very technical person. This is a very good technique, especially if the site has very technical issues, because you're actually going to be engaging an adjudicator who is actually an engineer, probably, like with your factories or your power plant or whatever has an adjudicator. Because when you're building these sort of things, or when you're constructing these sort of like facilities, or when you have issues with those technical things, you don't need a lawyer to come in and tell you what to do, you see. So that third party cannot be just somebody who is just off the rack, off the shelf. It has to be somebody with technical background. So adjudicators, they are properly trained as an educator to do the adjudication processes, but they are more into they have more technical background. They themselves would have to be probably some form of professionals that is in the same field as the issues that we're talking about. Like example, engineers, so they will probably be engineers or architect themselves. Then it will be more helpful because they can look at the issues. There is a time limit to adjudication. It's a set period of time that you need to solve the issues. So they wouldn't dilly-dally, they wouldn't go to your site and like come here like 3 times, 4 times and have no answer. So they will come and look at the documents, they will come and look at the talk to the discussion with the parties that is involved. So it's actually done at your site normally. So then they wouldn't really go to an adjudicator office. The adjudicator will go to the event where it happens. Things happen, they will go there and try to look at the documents, look at the paperwork, look at your issues, look at the site conditions, or look at the technical work that's been done, and they will come out with some form of decision. You see, here there will be a decision. There will be a decision. Like mediation, there is no decision. The decision will be the agreement between the two parties. Conciliation, there is some suggestion, okay, that the party can agree to. But this is a decision. They will say something like, okay, this one here needs to be resolved like this, like this, like this. This one here needs to be do it like this, like this. Then in Malaysia now, CIPA, we have the CIPA 2 or 12. This is a new act. It's more using adjudication for payment issues. So it's quite a new thing. I mean, like 2 or 12 until now, it's not really that new anymore. It's almost like what, 10 years? I mean, almost 10 years or more than 10 years already. That has been in use. But the
Yeah, doctor, sorry, I interrupt. I want to ask you about this SIPA because it's not in the form of contract, right? If
No.
I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because it's so how do we implement this in like based on the form of contract?
Okay. CIPA, let me explain to you first.
Sorry, doctor, if I may add, because if in PWD 203, there's clauses for this arbitration and all. It's just that not SIPA. Is it considered as a arbitration or?
No. CIPA is not arbitration. CIPA is a very specific act. It's actually under the law of Malaysia already. That if the contractor wants to, if the parties wants to go to use adjudication for that specific issues, they can do that. It doesn't have to. It's not contractor anymore. Okay. Let me finish explaining. I've got the CIPA Act down here that I will show it to you. Okay.
Okay, doctor. Sorry, impatient pula.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just trying to explain what is adjudication first. Okay. So adjudication, like that's why a lot of people get it confused with arbitration. Because arbitration is like also a third party, but arbitration is like a mini court. It's like a hearing. It's like you set up the environment, not a court environment, but the situation is almost like a court. And the people hearing you is arbitrator, not a judge. But adjudication is not like that. Adjudication is more for construction dispute, and these are independent experts, appointed for the certain particular issues, you see. So they will make binding decision, and the decision will also be made on court. I mean, it won't be enforceable by the court of law, but if they want to, if the parties still have to, still fight on and they want to go for litigation or arbitration, they still can do that. So, but the arbitrator's decision is final and binding, and it's also enforceable. It's final and binding, but adjudicator is binding. It's not final. Not final as in the end, if you still want to go for arbitration, in the end, you still want to fight yourself tooth and, blood and tooth to the court, you still can do that with the adjudicator's decision. So it is not final. Okay. So like I said, adjudicator is also a third party. It's also like a judge, but this judge is a friendlier kind of personality. I mean, like it's like you appoint him, he come and look at the issues. They can directly come to your side to look at the different documents and all that, and then to make some form of decision, to actually, we call it decision, because arbitrator, judge is judgment, that is different, okay? Arbitrator's decision is called award, A-W-A-R-D. So they are all different, you see? So when these two here, I have the same, the dispute resolution method, they sound the same, but they are different. So when it comes to adjudication, it is a friendlier, it's a more direct, it's a more issue-based, it's directly to that issue kind of resolution. If you have a technical issue, if you have a payment issue, have a construction dispute, you go straight to adjudication, and that decision making and that person looking at the decision is not so formal as compared to an arbitrator, and they will be more an expert in the area of studies, in the area of dispute, and they can actually make a decision for you, and that decision is binding. So it's actually a very effective way of resolving dispute, especially technical dispute, or like in Malaysia, we use it for payment actually. So yeah. So the decision is binding, but not necessarily final, as it could be later reviewed by arbitration court proceedings or settlements between the parties. So you see, contractual adjudication is seen in PAM. That's why I remember PAM is quite new. PAM, I think the latest one definitely will have included adjudication and mediation as well. So I think PAM do not really call for arbitration anymore. Arbitration is actually very, very time consuming. It is very time consuming. It is actually very wasting money. And in the end, it's not effective, because this arbitration industry has been campur tangan by a lot of lawyers, very legal people. And when we talk about dispute, there's two things that we always dispute over. Number one is the technical issues. Number two is a legal issue. If the contract has no legality, like legal issue, like for example, there's some misrepresentation, there's some mistake in the contract, or some clauses are unfair, etc., etc. These kind of issues is not good if you go for adjudication or arbitration. That one you have to go to court. Okay, or arbitration could be okay also. Yeah, arbitration is there to, if it's a very legal final point of view, you can get a lawyer, you can get a judge, a retired judge to come and be your arbitrator, and a lawyer to argue your case in an arbitration proceedings. But for adjudication, if it's a very legal fine point kind of thing, you would not get an engineer to look into it, because the engineer will be looking into technical. So if the site is like, maybe it's the defect kind of issues, it's like design kind of issues, bending moments, shear force, or apa-apa itu, like water pressure, or or payment issues, all these things are very technical issues. Technical and contractual issues, we will normally get somebody who is actually in the area, like an engineer themselves, a civil engineer or a geotech engineer, or a hydraulic expert or something like that, to be, or a project manager, for example, or a very high profile project manager, for example, to be the adjudicators, you see. So they can resolve it a lot faster. So statutory adjudication is actually implemented in England, UK, because why? Instead of bringing statutory adjudication, is like a mini court. It's like a court that is specially for housing grants, construction, and regeneration. It's under that act. So when you go for adjudication, is as good as you're going to a court, but this court is especially set up to listen to construction, housing, and related kind of cases. So it takes the load away from traditional court cases, judges, lawyers, and all that. So it's statutory adjudication. So in UK, they do that. In Malaysia, we normally will place it either in the contract as a contractor clauses to call for arbitration, and some, not the general. I mean, I'm pretty sure JKR and PW don't call for arbitration yet, but many other contracts under different party, like let's say, I'm not sure about SEB, but some organization like SEB, I think in Tenaga, TMB in West Malaysia, they will call all their contract, they will call for adjudication. I've got friends who are adjudicators, they are actually doing a lot of TMB cases. So TMB cases can go for adjudication. And maybe some, like maybe Sime Dabuka, some form of like those big organizations, sometimes they have their own contract documents, they will call for arbitration. I mean, they will call for adjudication. So contractually, it is possible to have adjudication. Okay. So in Malaysia, the use of adjudication is very rare at the moment. Only PAM calls for adjudication. Okay. And there are only 12 limited circumstances or matters that adjudication is a condition precedent to arbitration, meaning that you must do adjudication first before you even consider arbitration. Okay. So that is only in PAM, unfortunately. The one that is standard local but then those that are company-based one is their own project, company-based and then some of them actually go for arbitration already. Okay. Right. And then, okay, so now that we have this CIPA, we call it the Construction Industry Payment and Adjudication Act 2012. Okay, it was it received the Agong Chap and Sign on it basically on the 18th of June 2012 and enforceable in June 2012, 22nd of June 2012. So now we have a statutory adjudication regime for all construction contracts. Okay, so it means that even though it's not stated in the contract itself, the party can go for adjudication. Okay, so the purpose of adjudication is is speedy, is like what I mentioned just now, so especially when it comes to, but the problem is we are not really using it as much, you see, before, I mean, only for payment cases we're using it, but actually it's supposed to be for other cases, other type of things as well. But because it's a construction CIPA, Construction Industry Payment and Adjudication Act, then people are tending to use it based on payment kind of issues. So if let's say if you have dispute over payment, over money issues, even though it's not stated in the contract, you can go for CIPA because this is already statutory. You understand, Jessica?
Okay. So meaning to say, even though it's not in the contract, but it is still applicable because it's the law?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Now the pros and cons, I've gone through them with you as I go along. Okay, so I will skip 5.2. I'll go to the processes. Okay. But you can see that, right? Because it's a CIPA, it's payment. So it's always that kind of cases that refers to adjudication. So most, even though it's statutory, okay, like I say, most party will only use it for payment related cases. So if the party initially have to follow the payment mechanism in the contract, so the unpaid party may serve a payment claim to a non-paying party. The non-paying party could admit or dispute the claim in whole or in part 10 days of the payment claim by making a claim or serving a payment response. Okay. Then if there is a failure to respond in time and this entire payment claim is disputed, so there is a procedures to this. So it's actually helping a lot of contractors who are not being paid, that they can actually pay. So they either of this party, or let's say the contractor claims something, and then the client disagree with it, and then they actually can serve this to the adjudication. So like I said, it is already statutory. So the adjudication process in CPA will say that you just have to serve a notice of adjudication by the claimant on the respondents. So section 8.1 stipulates that the notice of adjudication must state the nature, brief description of the dispute, and state remedy sought, and state it is made under the Act. Okay, Jessica, did this answer your questions? So even though it's not stated in the contract, it's all here. I mean, the procedures are there. You can refer to the Act and then stating that you are actually disputing under the Act. Okay, you're making this dispute under CPA.
Yeah,
So
because
there's
I think in the form of contract, they did mention to follow the Government Act or something. So this can relate to that lah, is it?
Yeah. I mean, like law of Malaysia will apply.
Okay. Okay lah. Okay. Thank you.
In the same situation, let's say if the contract said that you have to go for arbitration, and in the end you go for court, you go to litigation, you go to court and serve a court, you get a lawyer to serve a dispute, and not serve a notice of dispute, and the whole process is going to court already. There's no way that you can say that because it's not stated in the contract agreement that you cannot go for litigation. Okay, so CPA is the same as going to court because it's statutory. All legal person, all businesses in Malaysia can actually, we are all protected under the law, right? So litigation and adjudication, they have the same element, even though it's not stated in the contract documents. If the law stated you can do that, you can go for it, okay? But obviously, the contract documents there, you said, then what's the point of contract document? Because the contract documents wants you to use this sort of method first before you escalate into these sort of things, you see? Like escalate into using CPA, escalate into going to court using litigation. So we don't want that, so the contract document will state that. But if the contract document state mediation and adjudication, and then you don't want the two of them, that one is breaching, you see? Because they're all under the alternative dispute resolution method. If it's litigation and CPA is under the law of Malaysia, it's different. The nature is different. Any citizens can use the law, you see? If then you don't have to follow the contract in that sense. So under the section 21, the adjudicator will be nominated by the agreement of both parties, and then the dispute within 10 days from the service of notice. So that's 10 days. So you can refer to institute arbitrators. Most arbitrators, they are also trained adjudicators. They have special license, and you can request to these places to ask them to nominate if you cannot find yourself an adjudicators within 5 working days. And then when the adjudicator is nominated, you have to negotiate the terms and relevant fees with the adjudicators. And the claimant has to serve the adjudication claim on to the respondents within 10 working days. So these are the procedures under the CPA Act to do all payment related again. So anything technical related, we still have to rely on the contract. Some contract, they will say that there will be certain conditions that you must use adjudication first, like before you go for arbitration or anything else, you see. The thing is with the contract is they will tell you to go for alternative dispute resolution method instead of jumping straight to court, you see. Because somebody gets straight to court, you have to suspend your project, you have to hold, everything has to come to a stop. It's actually very, very hurting for the project, you see. So they will ask you to go for alternative dispute resolution methods because alternative dispute resolution methods are usually a lot faster. Things are being resolved in a shorter period of time. If you go to court, unless it's a matter of do or die, like a matter of life and death situation, even something like the Highland Towers, it takes about how many years? 8, 9 years before there was actually a final answers to the whole thing, you see. So even though it's like a whole building collapse, you see. So don't tell me that, on the side on money matters, on dispute cases, you want to hold your money there for 10, 20 years just to go to court. We don't want that, you see. So court, usually we don't want to use court. And all contract will tell you that don't go to court first. Let's talk nicely first, talk our way out first, using mediation, using arbitration. In fact, now a lot of people don't want to do arbitration anymore because arbitration has been so congested with lawyers. Lawyers have seen a very big piece of pies in arbitration. And so much money when you engage a lawyer. You see, when you engage a lawyer, you go for arbitration. The lawyer will always ask you, like, what is this? What do you mean by NCR? What is NCR? What do you mean by the concrete is not, the slum test is not passed? What is slum test? Hello, you need to give this guy a whole brand new lesson on, what is bending moments and shear force, and what is how the mechanical parts is running, what is your machinery doing, before he even understand the case, you see, and how much time is wasted already, as if he's not charging you, you see. So, and then when you go to court, it's the same thing, it's again using lawyers. So when lawyers come into the picture, you need to take time to explain all the technical terms to them before they can bring the case to fight in the court, you see. And when they bring the case to fight, if it's not a legally key fine point kind of situation, meaning that there's something wrong with the contract or the legal terms or some wordings in the contract, they are completely useless, honestly. So it's better for you to get somebody who is actually very clear with the whole technical process so that you save a lot of time trying to explain to them. Like, let's say if you engage a hydraulic expert or you engage somebody who are in project management, who has site experience, who has like maybe 20, 30 years site experience, and you get a hydraulic or geotech expert to come and talk to you about soil conditions, about the layering, about earth stratas and all that. This arbitrator can understand what you're talking about, basically, you see. So arbitration is for that. People are not wanting to go for arbitration. It's taking too long as well. It's almost like, in fact, it was there in the first place to replace court, you see. And that's why all contracts state to go for arbitration, not court. Does not mean that when you state that you're going for arbitration means that you have no right to go to court anymore. You still can go for arbitration and then go for court if you're not happy with the arbitration processes. So whenever things are stated in a contract, it will always be go for that first, you see, unless it's some condition precedents that you can go for adjudication. And of course, if it's like I say, a payment case, especially like a CPA kind of thing, then you can straight away go for adjudication. Okay. And so, yeah, this is the processes of adjudication. So the response has served, and then after that, the claimant will serve a further adjudication reply within 5 days, and the power adjudicator is set up in Section 225. What can he do? What can he not do? Adjudicator must, follow they must establish the process. They must, order some documents to be sent in, to be reviewed, not sent in now. He can be there to review it. He can draw on his own expertise and knowledge, as an appointed independent experts, as an expert, and also he can also appoint other experts to come and explain to him on special cases. He can call for meetings. He can talk to the parties. He can interrogate the party in a way, and then call for clarification, call for further documents. These are all processes that, and when they are looking at the cases, these are all the things that they can do, right? So after that, confirm everything okay, the fees are okay, then they start the processes. After they start the processes, then he will look at it, formulate it, and think about it, and then come to a decision no later than 45 days to service of adjudication response, from the service of adjudication response and adjudication reply no more than 45 days, he must give a decision. So this is something very quick, very fast as compared to arbitration. Arbitration can go for 3 months, they can go for 5 months, they can go for 6 months even. And sometimes they need to get the parties to come in for the hearing, and then from the hearing, and then cannot finish in 1 day, have to come back again, and the party say, oh, I'm not free this day. The other party say, I'm not free also this day, and then drag on for another month or so, you see. So yeah, we do without that when it comes to adjudication. I really hope that adjudication may be able to be used in more situations and more cases, and I hope that it will be good lah in that sense lah, yeah, I hope that it will be not being abused by certain professionals, in terms of fees and all that kind of stuff lah. I think we all need a good bunch of people to be there, to help to resolve construction disputes, not only with money matters. And why do you say, then you ask me, why do money matters sound so simple? Why do you need to have adjudicators? When there's non-payment, a lot of times it's actually dealing with a lot. Behind non-payment, there may be cases like quality, there may be cases like non-compliance, there may be cases like schedule delays, there may be cases like LAD, there may be cases like very technical problems and issues, with the material, with the work itself, with the final products especially, or with the service itself. So adjudicator is needed in that sense to review back root causes of the issues of the problem. All right. So this is adjudication processes. Arbitrator, like I say, I've already mentioned quite a lot as well in terms of arbitration. Arbitration is actually similar to, you just imagine a court environment, and pretty much like a court environment, but this is a more informal court, that's all. And arbitration, it's like you appoint a private judge between the party, and you can choose to appoint this particular person whom doesn't have to be a judge, whom doesn't have to be legally trained, but preferably they must be in some way legally trained, not completely non-legally trained. Because when you go for an arbitrator course, in KL, the first stage is you must understand the whole processes of arbitration. And then after that, you will go for certain courses. There are legal courses, legislation and legal courses and all that is related to your areas. They will have courses like that. I think you have to seek for a few courses that is legal related one, law related one. And then after that, you will follow an arbitrator for a year or two to see how this is done in a real life. And then there will be an examination of a case whereby you need to write what. So the training of an arbitrator, I think, is easily about 5 to 10 years to be an arbitrator. So you are like a judge. It's just that you are not appointed by, Ministry of Justice, by the government, or by, the people of Malaysia to be the judge. The arbitrator can be trained. You can go for courses. And like I said, the training, if I remember correctly, if you're too young, you probably cannot be an arbitrator. They will only look for people who are about 35 years old and above. You can seek for their associate examination first, and after that there will be few courses to go for. Like I said, law classes to go for, and then after that you will be sitting for like a training, like a peer training kind of thing like you need to follow some masters, for 2 years or 3 years, 2-3 years, and then you need to really explain or seek for a case, and then write an award and then they will pass you like that. So there's a whole processes here that you need to seek for. Like I said, you probably take normally, I think to be an arbitrator, there is a limit. If you look for Institute Arbitrator Malaysia, I think a lot of informations are there. I think if you want to be a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, you need to be at least 35 years old and above. So it means that you already have some form of technical background. You've already been in the industry for at least 10 years in a way before you can even be trained to be an arbitrator. It's actually very fair in a way. You know, any young guy, you're not be an arbitrator, most of the time you haven't seen so many projects or you haven't seen so many cases before. It's very difficult. Yeah. So some very, very prominent arbitrators in Kuala Lumpur side, they are about 60 plus, 70 plus, and some of them are probably already dead even. And many of them backgrounds are actually QS, architects, engineers. So, and then they are specifically trained to become an arbitrator. And then when you are trained as an arbitrator, your name will be listed in the Institute Arbitrators, Institute of Arbitrators, Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, or Kuala Lumpur Institute of Arbitrators, or something like that, KLCRA or something like that. And then in the future, if there's a case, if there's a case where the party cannot agree on who is the arbitrator, they can refer to the institute and ask the institute to recommend an arbitrator. Okay. So arbitration is actually in JKR 203, PLU 203, also in, I think it's also in our JKR Sarawak Center Form of Contract. It's clause 34 in PAM, clause 47 in CIDB. Yeah. Right. So this, for arbitration, the processes is like I say, you actually follow. I mean, you actually will have to. It's like a court hearing basically, but you can choose your arbitrator, and there must be very, very neutral, independent parties. And then after that, you negotiate for the fees and all that, and then confirm this is the arbitrator. Then the arbitrator will have 3 methods. There are some instances that you can have more than one arbitrator, especially with international. You can have a team of arbitrator actually. You don't even have to have just one arbitrator, especially for international contracts. Then once you confirm on the arbitrator, the processes is the arbitrator will have 3 methods. One of them is by document exchange, just like you take in the documents from 2 parties and then all go to review to the arbitrator will review the documents just based on documents alone. And then there will be another one that is on minor oral hearing with documents, meaning that you only have a very short hearing. And there's another one that is fully hearing one. Full hearing meaning that the arbitrator will sit there at the appointed venue. It can be a hotel, it can be somebody's neutral parties in your office car or something like that. And then the 2 parties will engage their own lawyers to argue for the case. They will bring in expert witnesses, and then they will argue. They will talk about the cases. They will also have like macam court, macam court. You can have like ding dong, like who present your case now. There is defendant and there is claimants and defendants and all that. So we call it claimant and respondent now, but then in court we call it like defendant and also, well, what's the game? The person defendant, and then there's another one that is, what is the name again? The person who actually put forward the case. I forgot. What's the name of that? The formal name.
Plaintiff.
Something like that. Yes. Something like that. So yeah, so we do that, So then it's the same. They will go for that procedures. If it's a full hearing procedures, you can do that. So they will have time that the claimant will talk about the case. They will bring in their own witnesses, their own expert witnesses, and the other side will do defense. And then after that, they will bring in their own witnesses, bring in their own bring in their own expert witnesses as well. And then after a few rounds, then you must have proper closure. So it's just like court lah. You need to get a final readings, like the final, what is the final say from both parties, and then the arbitrator will make an award. It's just like a judge, he will make an award. But this arbitrator, like I said, if he is an engineer, if he is an engineer who is a bit trained in local background, with legal background, then it's a lot easier to make him understand. Some cases in Sarawak especially, they bring in ex-judges who are actually not trained technically. So it's very difficult to explain to judges. So unless you're dealing with a very final legal point cases, then you bring in a judge. The judge as arbitrator is effective in that way because they know the law very well. Whereas if it's a case that is dealing with management, technical things, better the arbitrator is an engineer or some professional who knows what's the situation, who knows the technical terms and all that. So that is the thing with arbitration. Okay, so arbitration processes, like I said, there are few types. One of them is called, like I said, discovery. You can have documents exchange, and another thing. There's this agreed bundle, claimants bundle, respondents bundle. So this is like just a document kind of exchange, which is very fast, quicker in the sense that if everything is still unclear, then you have to go for a hearing as well. So then you also have, like I say, a small hearing. It's not a full hearing. A full hearing is like you like what I explained, the whole procedure. It's like a short hearing will be like you just have to bring in some expert kind of statement, like to answer a few questions that the arbitrator cannot fully get from the documents. That's all. See, so that one is of course the level of complexity of the cases. If the complexities is very high, then the process is a lot more deeper. Some of them may even talk about discovery and then expert witness and then expert, hearing and a formal arbitration hearing. And like I said, if we go for formal arbitral hearing, it's actually the same as a judge kind of hearing, but a judicial kind of hearing. So arbitration process, like I said, it has been made from very simple to very complicated, and that's why people are swerving away from arbitration. Okay, but internationally, if you have any commercial dispute, any dispute whatsoever with international contract, usually it will still be arbitration. Because that would be the most informal way. Because you go to any other country's court, they wouldn't, you see, when you have an international contract between Malaysia and let's say Indonesia, I cannot use a Singapore court. There's nothing. You're not breaking any Singapore law. But if I go to a Kuala Lumpur, a Malaysian court, would the Indonesian be happy about that? Not, correct or not? Yeah, if I say, okay, let's do it with Indonesian court, Malaysia wouldn't want to go there. It's not my home ground, What is applicable to my country is not applicable to your country. So litigation is completely out if it's an international contract. So there's only left with something very close to litigation, which is a formal court hearing, will be an arbitration. That's why for international dispute with international contracts, you have to go for arbitration. And that arbitration, because you can choose your own arbitrators can set up their own formal process, and then you can do it at common ground. Common ground, like I said, you can do it in Singapore. And then in Singapore, you can use the things in Singapore, you can use arbitrator in Singapore. You can use an arbitrator any parts of the world, if you want to, as long as you both agree on which arbitrator to go for. You still can engage your lawyers, you still can engage with expert witness from your own country, etc., etc. It's the same. It's the whole process is a little bit more, it's not as rigid as court, but it's not as simple, not as easy as applications for mediation. Arbitration is almost like a court already. Yeah. So it's a court that is, you choose where to go to court, you choose who is your judge, you choose, what is the process you want to go for, you choose the venue. It gives the parties involved some choices and some form of comfort in that sense, instead of going for a full court environment. Okay? So if you go for a full court environment, you have to follow the legal system of Malaysia, go from what court to what court to what court appeal and all that kind of things. It may take you years, you engage lawyers, waste a lot of money, in the end somebody will be penalized or not penalized, and losing party will to pay everybody. Arbitration, another good thing, is a very close process, meaning that the result no need to be published in newspaper or anything like that. Whereby court, reporter can sit in and listen to all these proceedings because it's legal, it's their right. Unless you call for a closed court, and normally, because of transparency reason, unless you have a very, very, very specific reason why you cannot have an open court, then there's no reason why the judge should let you have a closed court. So meaning that anybody can sit in. You, me, anybody can sit in. If I'm curious about who fighting who, I can go to court and listen. Reporters can go there and take pictures and record down the answers or the judgment given by judges and all that. So it's a very, for a company, it's actually very, very bad for their reputation if you're going to court. So I hope you can see the whole system of all these arbitration, mediation, all the flow of the processes. And I think understand the processes, understand the practices, understand what is the advantage and disadvantage. I think this note is very good in explaining every single thing in terms of process, in terms of what is it about, and in terms of the bad and good, of it. So I think this is something that you really have to learn in that sense. Hopefully none of you have to go for these sort of things. It's a very very stressful, very, very stressful kind of for any of the processes. Your job don't end up in this sort of level. Anyway, any questions so far? Okay, if all is good, I will shut down the notes, and now I will share my screen. And if there's anything on project, you can talk to me now. And when is the project due date?
2nd May. It's not taken.
2nd May?
Of May.
It's on ELIT, it's 2nd May, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you've got a few more days to finish up all the assignments. And yeah, I think anyone wants to show me your assignments now? I think as I remember, I've already commented on anybody who has already emailed me or messaged me, I think. Did I miss out on anybody? I hope not. If not, then we talk about exams, okay? Which is something very important for you all. Okay, so I've stopped sharing my screen now. You cannot see my screen anymore, right? Can you? Only the names, because I need to go and flick on the exam paper. No, I'll use my handphone in case. In case you have another eye that you can see my screen. Assignments due 2nd May, don't be late. Luckily tomorrow and the day after is a holiday, so you still have some time. Oh yeah, and anyone who is under me for your oral presentation, we will start at 10 o'clock on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday? Wait, 3rd of May. Oh dear. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, big issue. I've got something on actually. I've got a class on 3rd of May. What am I talking about? Who is with me? Can I see a raise of hand? Brenda,
Me, Dr. Lisa.
Lisa, and 3, right? 2 only, man?
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim, 3 of you,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Yes, I actually have a class because Thursday is a holiday, and because of that, I have a replacement class on Wednesday. I completely forgot about that. Oh dear. So the 3 of you, would you be able to do it in the afternoon? Because I have a class from 10 to 1 p.m.
No problem.
Yeah, can, Doctor.
Afternoon, let's say 2 p.m. Would that be okay with you? Or 1:30? I finish class at 1, so I go back. I think it'll be 1:30. I think, yeah, 1:30 is the earliest lah.
2 o'clock like that.
2 o'clock lah, huh? Okay, can. So 2 o'clock. I'll see you guys at 2 o'clock, and then by WebEx link. And yes, you guys get ready your slide. There will be 15 minutes of presentation. 5 to 10 minutes of Q&A lah, huh? First come, first serve. Whoever walks in first, you want to start first, I'll let you start first, okay? Thank you for reminding me. I almost forgot about my class, actually. My gosh, what a bad memory I have nowadays. So the rest also, you have to work out with your own oral examiner, huh? Your own oral examiner about the... Am I marking somebody's report as well? Oh, something that I was marking somebody's report. Anybody's report is marked by me? Can I have a raise of hands? I'm just so confused, because I've got another group, the man group. Anybody's RP1 report marked by me?
Me,
Who is that?
Bibi, Mahmudin, and Sasha.
Bibi, Mahmudin, and Shasha. Report marked by me. So did Dr. Lee tell you when to hand in? If the report marked by me means that next semester you also be marked by me, so there'll be one shot all the way. I think, what's the deadline that she gives you about the report?
I add May.
8 May. 8 May is Monday, kan?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys marking report 1, you email me, okay? You directly email me before midnight, So Bibi, Mahmudin, and Shasha, okay? You email me your report. You know my email, correct, no?
Noted.
Yeah. Just email me.
Sorry, Doctor. Only Bibi and Mahmudin report marked by you.
Okay. 8th of May, huh? Yeah. If you guys need a bit more time, let me know, but not a lot, lah, huh? But I need to get the marks into Dr. Lee as soon as possible. So 8th of May, maybe the latest is 9th of May in the morning or in the mid-afternoon, you have to give it to me already, by latest, lah, huh? Yeah, by noontime, the 9th of May, noontime will be the latest, and I will check it through and then pass her the marks by evening while rushing again, okay? All right, so the other 3, we start at 2 p.m. and the other 3 of you oral, 2 p.m., and then 2 of you will be talking about it in, in 2 of you will be 8 or 9 of May, huh? All right, okay, settle. Wow. So much of holiday, I think it's really confusing. It's really messing up the schedules, actually. Okay, on the exam papers. Exam. Okay, there will be 4 questions on your exam. And your exam will be on the 7th, 12th noon. Okay, 12th noon is a Sunday, okay? Sunday, 12th noon, there will be 4 questions on your exam. There will be 3 hours exam. Ziyuan, you have to make sure that you have your camera on, which is going to be on you and the paper, not just your face, and I cannot see your hand. So it will be a part that I can see you as a whole sitting there writing your answer. You understand, huh?
Okay, I know.
Don't show me your face like that, or show me your camera with your hands like that. That one I don't want. So make sure that you get yourself an angle. You test your angle first earlier, and then show me, the whole, or at least half of your body on the table writing the answer, because everyone else is sitting for physical exam, so we cannot have. You also will be sitting for a physical exam. I think we will require you to write your answer and then scan it and then email me. Okay? I mean, no, sorry. Email me. Email me can not. Or email. Email because the rest of them will be paper. So you email me. Yeah, email is fine. And yeah, you email me. I'll give you extra maybe about 15-20 minutes to scan and also to email. Okay? After the test, after the exam is finished. An engineering contract. Whoa, I'm reading the question. My goodness, so sorry. Okay, what am I doing? Okay. Question number 1, it will be on engineering contract. So you need to know. Who can make a valid enforceable contract. You need to explain what is terms and conditions, what is considered as the enforceable contract. My gosh, I'm actually telling you the questions, okay? This is really bad. I am really bad, okay? Don't tell Dr. Lima. Then second question is Dr. Ambrose question again. It's going to be on the Environmental Act this time. It's going to be on Environmental Act. It's going to be about what is the Environmental Act all about from different engineering industries perspective. So from your industry perspective, if let's say you come from chemical, or you come from civil, or you come from, whatever else industries, what is the environmental law that is important to you guys, and what is the objectives of all those laws, and how do you appraise the policy? How do you, how do you relate, how do you apply the part in the policy? So you need to know your environmental policy very well, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to attach environmental policies there for you to see, you see. So does your organization have an environmental policies? And if you don't have an environmental, how are you going to create an environmental policies, and how are you going to relate that to your work, okay, to your project? And then you need to talk about 3 cases of pollution. This is very easy. So you need to prepare 3 cases of pollutions in your country that is related to your work. meaning that if you're from the materials or the manufacturing or civil engineering or construction, some form of pollution related, water quality ka, sound ka, air ka, like what kind of pollution that is related to three. We need to talk about 3 cases, okay? And then there will be 2 of my questions, okay? My questions, number 1 will be on contract. And if you have done the assignment, okay, you will know what to do. Number 1, it will be on some form of delay. Okay, delay and what are the contractual issues dealing with that delay. So it will be EOT and also delays, EOT, reason for EOT, LAD. These are all the related contractual issues. So anything that you've done in your assignments, I think is going to be very, very helpful. What is the contractual rights? That you guys write in the contract already. So learn your case 1, okay? Learn your case 1 on EOT on that, and it's basically your case 1. So much. All right. And then the 4th questions, because it's a physical exam, so this time I'm very generous. I'll tell you everything. You don't go and blow whistle on me, Then the last week is going to be on dispute on conflicts, on dispute on conflict first, and then after that on litigation and arbitration, the advantages, disadvantages, and also CPA on the processes and procedures. It's all in the notes. Okay, what we've covered today. So I've already put you on focus to memorize, to do whatever you need to do. Please don't give me empty papers. Don't disappoint me. I tolong. Okay, 4 questions, 3 hours. The last question will be on conflict. You need to know litigation, arbitration, and also CPA on the procedures, which is already in the notes. I've explained it, go through it with you just now. That section of the note 5.3, yeah? All right, ladies and gentlemen, all the best to you guys, and hopefully you will do well. And don't fail, please. The rain has
Thank you,
stopped.
Doctor.
Any questions? Anything on some? Yes, Mahmudin, you want to ask me anything? I think this will be the last time I see you guys, especially for those of you who has already done last semester. People like Ziyuan, Juntak, you're all cleared already. No more subjects with me. Some people, yes, you will see me again in project management in October.
Dr. Ting,
Oi,
how many marks per question?
25. So it's 25, 25, 25. It's made out of 100, and then it'll be divided by 50% later.
Oh, okay.
Your assignment, the one that you're doing with me, each cases is 10 marks. Okay, so there's 40 marks. The one that you handed into Dr. Ambrose is 20 marks. Hey, no, wait. Oh yeah, 40. Also, sorry. Let me see. No, it's actually 60. So it will be divided 100 marks. It will become 40 marks later. It was a cost plan. You all have the cost plan, huh? Cost plan. Let me check the cost plan, huh? Give me a minute. Yeah, I think so. Dr. Ambrose is 20 marks. Mine is 60 marks. Yeah, mine is 40 marks. So total is 60 marks. So at final exam, 40 marks. So final exam 40 marks. This 40 marks you have every question will be converted to 10 marks later. So but in exam, you're doing 100 marks exam. Okay. So you don't think of it as a 40 marks. Don't just answer like 2 lines like that, thinking that you can get 2 lines, 10 marks. You understand or not? Aku punya saya. So these 3 hours, you have to treat it like one question, 25 marks. Some parts is 10 marks, some parts 15 marks, some questions is 5, 7, 8, you know, that kind of layout, ABC, you know. So you need to treat it like a proper 100 marks exam and do it 100 marks and later I convert. You don't think of it as 10 marks, 10 marks, 10 marks, then you answer it in 10 marks, 10 marks, 10 marks. Everything you answer 2 lines, 2 lines, 2 lines like that. Then I'll see you next semester again, 2 lines, 2 lines. Make use of your 3 hours. I'll be there to invigilate everybody I'll be there for the whole sessions. If you have any issues, if I have anything that I can help, I will help you, okay? Ya lah, you takut Brenda tak dapat tidur tenang, is it? Brenda stressed already, You guys have a lot of exams to go through. This time is the first time that you guys do physical. So I am actually worried for you as well, honestly, especially how much you write. That's the thing. Hopefully all the assignments you all can score about 45 to 50 already out of 60. And then exam wise, if you can easily take like, 60 marks or something like that, then you should be able to get okay. You should be able to pass. Oh, I hopefully don't have to go for reseating. I hate reseating. Any other questions? Hey, my tips are very June one already. You jangan go and think about something else. I'm not here to bluff you, okay? I'm actually looking at the paper, talking to you, okay? So I am actually trying not to read the paper to you, that's all. And this is already recorded also, meaning that you go back, you can listen to that bit of the recording, you can really revise accordingly. DIPA, the process, arbitration litigation, the differences, the procedures, the good and bad, which one is better, that kind of thing, because they are very, very similar, okay? Then after that, on conflict management, how do you resolve dispute? What is your role as a project manager? Which I already mentioned many times that you, according to the contract, you have to resolve conflict first before you actually go for dispute resolution. So you need to resolve it by being the third party within the contract itself to resolve the issues by handling it different cases in confronting manner, in compromising manner, the different methods of resolving dispute. Just talk a little bit about that. It should be fine, okay? And then for your question number 3, EOT 1, go and learn by heart all your answer and questions and all that on your assignment, okay? Because we're talking about what is the issue, describe the issue, describe the contracting party's responsibilities, describe what you can do, what is the strategies, isn't that what you did for your assignment? So please revise that as well. And Dr. Ambrose's case is about application of environmental acts onto your workplace. And then the first one is also very easy questions. It's about terms and conditions. What is terms and conditions? What makes a valid contract and who can contract and all that. So you memorize those things, Yeah. Sudah, give you the question, okay? Give you guys a question already, yeah? All right, if there's no more questions, we call it a day and everybody can go and tidur tenang. Things is raining. And any more class after this?
No more already, doctor.
No more already, yeah? Okay, all the best. You can email me or put it in groups or anything like that, if you need me to answer you on anything. But on the day itself, on the exam, I'll be there for the whole time, And Zion, remember to keep your camera on, make sure that it's working, make sure that your line is working, And prepare your papers to write, We're not asking you to, this time we will not be asking you to, yeah, we are not guiding you to type out the thing, so you need to write, okay? And scan and email me. All right, see you guys.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Doctor.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.
See you. All the
Thank you,
best.
doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.